anything debatable about the list of Biden appointees he voted for.
From chicks on the right, Trump faces the fake news again. Did he defeat them?
From Devory Darkins, Democrat mayor sues Trump as airport descends into chaos.
And from Wendy Bell Radio, oh, Canada.
Don't miss this great live stream with Murtech on Rumble tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern Daylight Savings Time. The link is in the description box below. Thank you for all your support and may God bless. Oh, by the way, don't forget to follow me and click the thumbs up button. Thanks again.
Hi everybody, this is John Murphy at Murtech.com with your daily news update. Alright, here we are on May the 7th in the year of our Lord 2025. Got a lot of great information for you today. Let's just go ahead and click over here at Murtech on Rumble. And this is the video you're looking at right now, my live stream podcast. Let's get into this. Close out the chat. And let me pause that. If we slide down here and open up the description box, this show more, and it'll expand the description box out. We have information from Bannons War Room, Chicks on the Right, Devory Darkins, and Wendy Bell. We all like Wendy Bell. Let's slide down here, and I want to give a shout out to Matthew 633, just started following my channel. Black Menani 004 just started following my channel. Also, I do want to say thank you very much, folks, for following my channel. I greatly appreciate that. I hope you're tuned in, and I hope you enjoy the content. Alrighty there. So, Uncloudy and Debbie BS gave me a comment on my episode 1554. Debbie BS gave me a comment on my Extra 340B and Extra 340C. Black Menani 004. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing that, your handle there. And Debbie BS gave me a comment on my Extra 341A. Black Menani 004 gave me a comment on my Extra 341B. And William Wallace and Lightning Tree Brand gave me a comment on my Extra 341C. So thank you very much for your comments, folks. I really enjoy reading your feedback, and I really appreciate your support. So let me go ahead and give this comment. I put this in a comment, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and give this a comment, a thumbs up. Okay, watch how easy this is. 1, 2, 3, boom. There it is. There it is. It is so easy. And it gives you a nice warm feeling down deep inside. You know, I have one of those thumbs up things right down here. If you were just to scroll down here and click this thumbs up, man, that would be supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, I might add. Okay, well, let's get into Bannon's War Room. He didn't find anything debatable about the list of Biden appointees he voted for. Huh. Well, let's see what that's all about.
"30 days or 3 years is debatable, but I have no tolerance for anybody who entered the building on January the 6th, and that's probably where most of the friction was. If Mr. Martin were being put forth as a U.S. attorney for any district except the district where January 6th happened, the protest happened, I'd probably support him."
Debatable. That is an interesting choice of words. I guess 30 days versus 3 years, right? That warrants a discussion. So much so that Mr. Tom Tillis can't bring himself to vote for Ed Martin. Happy giving that over, ceding that to Judge Boasberg, someone who thinks we should keep convicted illegal alien rapist criminals in this country. That sounds like an interesting form of morality I've never heard of, but I digress. But he can't entertain a vote for Ed Martin because of that debate. But it's quite an interesting admission because apparently he didn't find anything debatable about, and I'm going to read you the list of all the names of Biden appointees that he voted for: Antony Blinken, Janet Yellen, Lloyd Austin, Merrick Garland, Pete Buttigieg, that's a real winner right there, nothing to debate on that front, and Gina Raimondo. And just to, I guess, complete this wonderful record that our dear friend Senator Tillis has, you can also throw in Ed Martin's counterpart. That is Matthew Graves, who oversaw the prosecution and persecution of, 1,500 MAGA patriots, probably people who used to watch and now can, because of President Trump again, watch this show. And I would humbly put forth that the best way to understand why this man is so opposed to Ed Martin is by something that even in my 24 years on this planet, I've learned in politics, and that's following the money. And it's quite interesting, right? Like Mike Benz was talking about, this role, this position, it gives you essentially control over so much of the investigations that touch and run across all of Washington, D.C. And Ed Martin, who, got a lot of flack for coming and representing and advocating so strongly against people who wanted to shut down D.O.G.E. And let's put maybe the Act Blue investigation, just flag that, put a little asterisk on that one. So it's quite interesting to me. I was looking through his top donors and contributors. Well, it comes primarily from the financial services and finance industry. That's interesting. And when I looked at who his number one contributor was, it was actually Blackstone. I wonder why they don't want any investigations going on in D.C. And of course, Senator Tillis, now we'll get a little personal, his whole claim to fame these last few months has been the lone Republican who's standing up to evil President Trump, who doesn't want to continue giving your tax dollars to Ukraine. And apparently we need to share our intel capabilities with them too. And if you roll the tape a little bit more, right, he thinks that January 6ers are not able to be redeemed. They need to be thrown in prison and locked away. They should be given, I guess, the CCOT treatment. But you know what's so funny? Because this is the same guy who essentially sponsored, if not wrote, a mass amnesty immigration bill that would have given people who entered this country illegally amnesty, full citizenship rights, H-1B visa recipients, their kids working documentation, and would have allowed for, 5,000 illegal aliens to pour into this country every single day under Joe Biden. That was euphemized as, strict border control. But I'm sorry, Senator Tillis, you want to give illegal aliens more nuance and understanding and compassion in how you handle their cases than you'll give American patriots who dared to stand up to a contested election? And that's the reason that you can't vote for Ed Martin? Where were you when January 6ers, when your constituents were getting thrown in prison? You were probably lobbying for more money to go to Ukraine, or for illegals to be allowed in this country, or another issue that, I would maybe say a little bit debatable, to use a word that I've heard from you. I guess while all those January 6ers are getting thrown away, you felt the need to vote for the law that codified same-sex marriage. I don't know about me. I think that's a little debatable. Right? Ed Martin is bad because he will give January 6 participants grace. Let's look at how you feel comfortable talking about Zelensky. I know you care so much about democracy. Well, this man's canceled elections, but look at the love that you're willing to show for him on the Senate floor. Denver, let's roll that clip.
So I would say to the Ukrainian people and President Zelensky, thank you. In spite of the fact that dozens of people have died this week, including civilians, at the hands of decisions made by Putin, thank you for being willing to lay down your guns and try and get to peace there. But the American people need to know that Putin is a liar. He is a murderer. He hates democracy. That's what this is about, folks. This is about good versus evil. This is about totalitarian versus this messy thing we call democracy.
No, Senator Tillis, you should be saying thank you to Ed Martin because he has more courage and conviction in 1 ounce of him than you do in your entire body and your shameless, feckless political career, where you have done nothing but essentially be a Democrat, acting like a Republican and cheapening what it means to even be one. and how dense you are to stand up there and say what's going on in Ukraine represents a battle between two competing worldviews of authoritarianism and democracy, setting that issue aside. If you were so smart, like I'm sure you feel when you go to all the DC cocktail parties that you get invited to because you're willing to attack President Trump, you know that that's the fight that we have right here going on in this country right now. And there's no better person equipped to helm that fight than someone like Ed Martin, who actually has a track record of making America great again and standing and holding the line when it gets a little tough and not running to the legacy media for cover. So shame on you. And Warren Posse, it's 202-224-3121. And ask him how he felt comfortable voting for Merrick Garland and Matthew Graves, but not Ed Martin. I'd love to hear your spin on that. And don't ever tell me to thank Zelensky again.
Well, alrighty then. I guess she doesn't like him very much. And I can't blame him from the way that she described him. He does seem like a Republican asshole, one of those deep state rhinos. Okay. Well, let me go ahead and click over here on the Rumble link and show you that this video does come from Bannons War Room. I am following the channel. I've given it a thumbs up. I hope you do the same thing for me. All right, let's get back here to our lineup. And chicks on the right. Trump faces the fake news again. Did he defeat them? I don't know that you can defeat them. They're here to stay. They've been here for the past 4 or 5 decades. Believe me, folks, I've lived through it. All right. Let me go ahead and give this a full screen here and see what... Okay, let's see what chicks on the right have to say.
Let's kick it off with one of the fun things, which is that he took Kristen Welker on a tour of Mar-a-Lago and showed her the amazing fancy ballroom. And he wants to redo or renovate a ballroom in the White House. And so she was asking, well, what's that going to cost? And here is
President Trump greeting supporters at an RNC fundraiser at Mar-a-Lago, showing us the main ballroom at his private club and sharing new details about the one he plans to build at the White House.
We are going to make and build a ballroom, which they've wanted for probably 100 years at the White House. And it'll be a world-class, beautiful ballroom.
A ballroom that could cost millions of dollars. He says he will pay for it himself. You will fund it.
Yeah, I'm not going to ask the government for money. I'll fund it, and I'm sure we'll have some donations to it.
I mean, that's okay.
I think that's amazing.
If he pays for it, good for him.
Like, because he already paid for having two flagpoles, like with giant American flags out at the White House.
And
as well.
know those flagpoles have like Trump at the bottom. And the ballroom will have like Trump, like,
He'll make his mark.
Right. And good for him. It should. They should have, there should be Trump things all over it.
I mean, if he's paying, then he gets to do the thing.
I would do that.
Yeah.
If I was putting millions of dollars of my own money, my hard-earned money into stuff like that, heck yeah, I would do that.
She asked a lot of questions too about the whole Garcia thing and whether or not if he was going to use his power to bring him back. And he kind of shifted that power to Bukele, which was fine. But she tried to press him on questions about due process and do people deserve due process? And this was okay. Like, this is not a clip that I was totally bothered by. It was a little clunky, but see what you guys think.
And your attorney general has said the issue is with that word facilitate. Will you seek clarification from the Supreme Court? Do you need to go back to the Supreme Court?
We may do that. I was asking about that. We may do that.
Your Secretary of State says everyone who's here, citizens and non-citizens, deserve due process. Do you agree, Mr. President?
I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know.
Well, the Fifth Amendment says
I don't know. It seems it might say that, but if you're talking about that, then we'd have to have 1 million or 2 million or 3 million trials. We have thousands of people that are some murderers and some drug dealers and some of the worst people on earth, some of the worst, most dangerous people on earth. And I was elected to get them the hell out of here.
That's
and
right.
The courts are holding me from doing it.
But
okay, so due process. I have a video in my playlist for my daily news wrap up, the marathon live stream that starts about 9:30. But the video talks about they already gave up due process. when they came in here not following the rules. And here again, I would venture to say that the Constitution is for the citizens of the United States, not illegal aliens. Okay, people that are invading, illegal invaders into the United States. And that's what they are. I think the due process is, do you have a visa? No. Do you have a passport? No. Do you have a green card? No. That's the process. Get them the freak out. All right? That's the due process. You don't have any of those. So what is there to discuss? What kind of process do you need? They are here illegally. Try that in any other country in the world. Unless, of course, you're from the Middle East and go to Great Britain or France or Italy. That might work for you. Pretty amazing if you ask me. Due freaking process.
Even given those numbers that you're talking about, don't you need to uphold the Constitution of the United States as
I
president?
don't know. I have to respond by saying again, I have brilliant lawyers that work for me, and they are going to obviously follow what the Supreme Court said.
So, you know, when she says, don't you need to follow the Constitution? And he says, I don't know, I'm not a lawyer. I mean, that's a little clunky, but I think what he was trying to say is this issue in particular is being litigated, and he is unclear about how that litigation will fall out.
Yeah.
So,
And I think he's trying to be careful how he answers that, because a lot of these people were brought in unlawfully.
exactly.
And in ways like, you know, when Biden flies people in here, then how do you deal with those people?
I think you just fly them all back.
You fly them right back.
I don't understand.
Without due process. And that's the thing. It's like, why all of a sudden do they get due process when they weren't given due process on the way? You know, they weren't lawfully brought in and they weren't vetted.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think he's trying to figure out how to, I would not have been skillful in the way that I worded that either. I would have been like, you know what? Screw them. But that's why I'm not president.
There was a moment where I thought she tried to give him credit for basically fixing the border issue, but he wanted more credit, which was cute. I love this interaction because he does deserve every ounce of credit for literally sealing the border. I mean, it is secure.
Yeah.
All the times that we were told during Biden that it was secure when it absolutely wasn't.
Right.
It is secure. She recognizes it. And he's like, isn't that the greatest?
Things are at their lowest level ever recorded. Is the border
Is that good?
Is the border now secure?
Yeah, it's really secure.
It's absolutely
Isn't that good?
secure.
When you say that, doesn't that just sound good? After being abused for years by an incompetent president that allowed people to pour through an open border, criminals from all over the world, murderers and insane people from mental institutions and insane asylums. Isn't it a beautiful thing when you say it's the most secure it's ever been in the history of our country? Isn't that a nice statement?
So
I love that.
Yeah. Can you just take a moment to like give me some props for that?
Right?
You wretched beast.
I mean, she kind of just said it like it's a data point. You know what I mean? And he's right. When he says that they don't ever give him positive coverage. Like that's an amazing thing.
Like
you know
take a second of pause and appreciate that.
Yes, exactly. And she's just like, border crossings are an
they're all-time low. It's like, you know, no big deal. It actually is a big deal.
Yeah, actually, it is a big deal. But, you know, that's one of the things that people don't like about Donald Trump. And it kind of gets on my nerves a little bit, too, how he continually, everything's the best, everything's great, and the border, it is fantastic, okay? But, you know, I realized this back, I don't know, around the middle of 2017. The reason that he talks like that is because the mainstream media gives him 98% negative coverage. Only 2% positive coverage, and that's just an announcement. The border's the latest, or the lowest, best secured that it's ever been. But, by the way, he's deporting citizens of the United States. Gee, Merry Christmas. All right, but that's it. The mainstream media rarely, about only 2% of the time, say anything positive about anything he's done. And that would be, the job numbers went up. And by the way, he's defunding sanctuary cities. What the frick? Okay, sorry, didn't mean to interrupt.
Deal.
It's a huge deal. It is a huge deal.
Mm-hmm.
And what is also a huge deal is the fact that you can get drugs so easily right now with allfamilypharmacy.com/chicks.
It's true.
It's a big deal.
It's a really big deal.
I did not know this. I should have known this because they're our sponsor, they're our friend, and I should have known this. They've got well over 200 medications at the ready when you need them. You can have them in your house. You can get a year's worth supply of medications that you need. I didn't know that I could actually get my high blood pressure medication and my cholesterol medication from them.
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff in there that you can get, you probably get on a regular basis that you don't know that you can get along with like ivermectin and hydrochlor, all that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Drugs that the government essentially
they don't want you to
keep from you.
They don't want you to have.
But they have all of those. And so I didn't realize that they had some of your preventative stuff in there too. I knew that about the antibiotics. I knew about the things that will treat illnesses in the moment so that you can avoid going to like an urgent care or trying to wait for your doctor to see you. Just don't rely on that. You can have medicine when you need it. You can be prepared when you need it, and just slash her. She wanted to ask him about, this is where it's going to get a little squishy for me. I don't know what the right word is, but like, this is where I get a little uncomfortable. So Trump has lots of stuff to brag about when it comes to the tariffs and how those are impacting, for example, auto manufacturers. There are a lot of small businesses who will be negatively impacted. She was trying to ask about that, and he did not like talking about that in particular, but he wanted to focus on the positive. So here's how that went.
To say they are being hurt by the Chinese tariffs, and some could be forced to shut down.
And many businesses are being helped.
Are you considering tariff relief for small businesses?
Why do you always mention that, you pick up a couple of little businesses? What about the car business? They're going to make a fortune because of the tariffs. Do you know that the union, the head of the union, who was no fan of mine, Sean Fain, I guess his name is, right? He didn't endorse me. The Teamsters did. A lot of people did. A lot of unions did. But he didn't. He couldn't stand me. Now he's saying, wow, what Trump's done for the automobile, I can't believe it. I assume he's going to probably now say, the next thing he can say is, I endorse this guy. He's the greatest I've ever seen. He can't believe it's happened. He said, we've been waiting 40 years for somebody to do what Trump is doing. So why don't you mention the big car industry instead of mentioning somebody that's doing strollers?
Well, I'm just asking you about small businesses. Are there any discussions about giving any relief to small businesses?
They're not going to need it.
Okay.
They're going to make so much money.
Are these tariffs?
If you build your product here. Remember, there are no tariffs if you build your product here. It's very easy. It's very simple.
Okay, so fine. That's fine. He doesn't want to talk about the small businesses that may be put out of business. And so that's fine.
If you build your product here.
Right. So, but then he like entered Bernie territory.
What are you? But why?
So you guys, we spontaneously combusted into laughter over the weekend because we were reminded of this time in radio where one of the bumper songs was Santana's Winning.
I'm Winning. You guys know that song, I'm Winning.
I'm winning.
And she sang it in Bernie
I
voice.
did it. Well, on the radio, I did that one time. I sang Santana as Bernie Sanders. I don't know what possessed me to do that. But this is the thing, is like we started talking about that. I used to do like Bernie Sanders voice singing like Michael McDonald, or this is when we used to do
Kenny Loggins.
Kenny Loggins. I didn't do like the Doobie Brothers. I thought I did the Doobie Brothers one time too. But I would do that just like spontaneously. This is why like nobody understood us at radio. And then we would go into a fit of giggles and they'd have to put us in a break because we were so unprofessional.
Oh my God.
So unprofessional.
Do it. People want you to do it.
I'm winning. That's like, I did that like one time.
I mean, it's obviously better when the music is behind her,
and
but like I
don't even know why I did it, but we would do that all the time.
And every time it ever comes on the radio and you see it like on the radio, like the words and I laugh. Instantly I just crack up because I will never forget her saying. Anyway,
yeah.
The reason we're bringing Bernie up
is
because is because Trump talked about how you don't need to have a whole bunch of certain things. Okay. And so people are, it's not just me that feels uncomfortable.
They feel like it's socialist, what he's saying.
Because of course it is. And so this, him trying to say, well, maybe you don't need a lot of strollers or you don't need a lot of dolls is weird.
The tariffs. And I want to ask you about something you said this week. Got a lot of attention. You were at your cabinet meeting. You said, quote, I'm going to quote what you said, maybe the children will have 2 dolls instead of 30 dolls.
Yeah.
And maybe the 2 dolls will cost a couple of bucks more than they would normally. Are you saying that your tariffs will cause some prices to go up?
No, I think the tariffs are going to be great for us because it's going to make us rich.
But you said some dolls are going to cost more. Isn't that an acknowledgement that some prices will go up?
I don't think a beautiful baby girl that's 11 years old needs to have 30 dolls. I think they can have 3 dolls or 4 dolls because what we were doing with China was just unbelievable. We had a trade deficit of hundreds of billions of dollars with China.
When you say they could have 3 dolls instead of 30 dolls, are you saying Americans could see empty store shelves?
No, I'm not saying that.
God,
I'm just saying they don't need to have 30 dolls. They can have 3. They don't need to have 250 pencils. They can have 5.
I hate that entire line of questioning.
I hated the questioning too, but I mean, I thought that it was a jump for her though too. I mean, she was just like, so you're basically, she went to rationing is what she went to. And I don't know if that was necessarily the right, she's trying to get him on that. And he's trying to get us to a place where we are self-sufficient. And that is what sucks, is that in trying to get us to a place of self-sufficiency, she's like, oh my God, that's socialism. You know what I mean? She's trying to get him.
But how are we not mad about that if we're going to be mad at Bernie saying we don't need to have 27 different kinds of deodorant. We don't need to have this many different kinds of strollers or whatever. It's because Bernie.
Well, okay, let me jump in here because Bernie's a Democrat, for one thing, and whatever Democrats say. All right, my wife mentioned to me tonight that she does a lot of shopping on Temu. Well, Temu is direct from China. Okay, and she, we get a lot of things pretty cheap. And she said, wow, the prices at Temu have really gone up because of the tariffs. So she's going to look other places if she shops online. And that's the whole point of this, folks. Because Donald Trump's whole plan here is to bring manufacturing and jobs to the United States. Okay, and if things are going to cost more from China, then where you can get them someplace else, products that are made here in the United States, that's the whole point. Yeah, it may cost you a little bit more. If you're going over here to buy something, it might cost you $2 more than it would if you got it at Temu, but now Temu is like $4 more than what it was. Okay? But the whole point of this is, as well, not the whole point, but another point to this is that China charges us almost double tariffs on products we send into China than what Donald Trump is charging China for products coming in here. He showed that chart. Okay? He started out with 65% tariffs to China, and they were charging us 134%. Okay? Just like this Prime Minister of Canada that he had this meeting with, we can't sell dairy products to Canada. The United States can't sell dairy products to Canada. They have like a 250 or 260% tariff on dairy products going into Canada. And they're going to bitch about us charging 25% tariffs on steel and aluminum and lumber coming into the United States. And they think it's freaking okay to charge 250% tariffs on dairy products going into Canada? I mean, what the hell is this? And the mainstream media is just jumping on board with this about how all these other countries are being so mistreated. And the kids aren't allowed to have 30 dolls because their parents can't buy them $30 on $30 on Temu at $1.50 a piece. Now they have to pay $4 for them. Give me a freaking break. But the end result is it's going to bring more jobs into the United States, which means people are going to be able to make money. They're going, if they're willing to work, which means that's going to generate more taxes for the federal government, and maybe we won't have a $37 trillion deficit loan. Okay? That's all he's trying to do. Sometimes he's pretty good on his feet as far as speaking is concerned. This was one of those best times, okay? All right, this particular video, Chicks on the Right, comes from YouTube. I'm subscribed to that channel, giving them a thumbs up. I hope you do the same thing for me. All right, let's jump back over here and move on with Devory Darkins, another YouTube video. Democrat mayor sues Trump as airport descends into chaos. Okay, let's see what that's all about. Let me get this big screen for you. Here we go. I've given him a thumbs up. Subscribe to his channel. Let me get it back to the beginning for you, if I can. Here we go. All right.
In today's video, Hollywood reacts to President Trump's huge tariff announcement. The mayor of Newark in New Jersey is suing the Trump administration, and President Trump signed a bombshell executive order that you have to see.
Lawmakers in Newark are worried a detention center reopened by ICE officials to house immigrants could be in violation of local and state laws.
Now, that hall is a private for-profit facility with room for more than 1,000 people. Mayor Ross Baraka says that ICE renovated Delaney Hall without the proper work permits, inspections, and certificate of occupancy, and this poses some safety risks. So he has filed a complaint in county court.
New Jersey reporter Tony Yates joins us live from Newark with more on this. Tony.
Well, David and Sandra, at this point, the Trump administration has a stack of lawsuits against various departments, lawsuits that have made very little in how difference in how they operate. Well, now the city of Newark is adding another lawsuit, hoping to get Delaney Hall closed once again.
Okay, so let's understand what's going on here. Delaney Hall was previously housing immigrant detainees from 2011 to 2017. In 2021, New Jersey enacted a law preventing both public and private entities from entering into a contract with ICE. Now, a federal judge ruled in 2023 that the state cannot prevent private companies from contracting with the federal government for such purposes. So they reopened it, and starting on May 1st, they are now housing illegal aliens, just to be clear on the facts. Now, of course, Democrat mayor, he's crying about this. He doesn't want to go along with this because Democrats, we know, really care more about illegal aliens than American citizens. Don't believe me? Here's what he said.
We're going to stand against it as much as we possibly can, using the letter of the law to do so. The problem is they're not listening to the law. They're not listening to the Supreme Court. They're not listening to federal courts. They're not listening to Superior Court here in New Jersey. So, it puts us in a precarious situation.
Delaney Hall is fully operational now, a privately owned detention facility holding a contract with the federal government to house those people arrested by ICE. Newark joined various community organizations and elected officials months ago to try to keep the then shuttered facility from being reopened after it was closed by the Biden administration years ago. The city says it is operating without proper city permits and not allowing inspections.
The fact that these people have the audacity to first grab detainees and put them in an unsafe place speaks volumes to what they think about humans in general.
No, what actually speaks volumes is how you're willing to continue to spend taxpayer money to give the most comfortable accommodations to illegal aliens versus our veterans, versus actual American citizens. And what I find to be interesting, these are the same people who are crying about the Black community and minority communities and how we are not treated fairly by the federal government. But at the same time, they're diverting resources away from these communities and towards illegal aliens. I wonder how they square that in their mind. I just don't see it. Now, let me play you another clip of this mayor because I think it paints the full picture of who he really is. Take a listen.
First, we have to obviously protect the Constitution of the United States. You can disagree with me on immigration policies. You can disagree that immigrants in New Jersey provide $1 billion or more worth of state and local taxes to our community, who keep our economy going. We can have a debate about that. You know, the facts are the facts, but the reality is violating people's Fourth Amendment rights. We all should be opposed to that. We should all be opposed to, undermining due process. Everyone, no matter who you are, Republican, Democrat, Independent, should stand together in defending the Constitution of the United States. This is a thing that makes this country different than any other country around the world, a Bill of Rights. So we cannot allow the slippery slope to begin, which Trump has already begun. We have to push back against that. And so we have to protect folks in our community. We have to protect those who are documented and those who are undocumented. Everybody in this country, unless you are a Sioux or Arawak or the Blackfeet, at some point you were undocumented, and or your family members were undocumented. And so it's important for us to protect due process more than anything else. And that's what governors need to do: protect the Constitution, protect the courts, protect due process.
It's very clear we know what his mindset is. Now, understand something. He leans in on progressive ideals. He's actually running to be the governor of New Jersey in the next election here. And the fact of the matter is, he supports making sure that a detention center is not open. Okay. So it just goes to show you that he supports sanctuary city policies. And we know how that has worked out. Now, here is the new Attorney General of New Jersey, Alina Habba, and what she had to say. Take a listen.
I mean, the hypocrisy is real here, Martha. So what do they want? I mean, I'm going to ask them the question. Do you want us to have facilities so that these illegals can have due process, even though they have administrative orders that say that they've gone through the court system and they should be deported? Or do you want us to just put them on a plane and ship them out? Here you have a mayor who's slamming opening up a facility, is obviously grandstanding because he is running for governor, and is getting in the way of us giving due process when they complain about it. It's unbelievable. So what would they prefer? Them on the street or just get on the plane? You can't make it up. We don't know what they stand for anymore. All I can tell you is all they stand for is anything anti right now, anything anti the DOJ's efforts, ICE's efforts to come down on criminals who came in illegally. And it's got to stop. It's a waste of taxpayer dollars. I know in Newark in particular, we have so much crime, gangs. I'm working there. I work there every day. We need to refocus taxpayer dollars on real things. This grandstanding needs to stop. It's a waste of time.
It is pure hypocrisy. And I told you guys, Democrats don't want to actually fix the issue. They'd rather enable it. Okay. Republicans are looking to solve the issue here, but Democrats just want to criticize how they go about it, but they're not offering any solutions. You guys get the recurring theme here. It's going to continue to happen, by the way, over the next 4 years. Now, what's interesting in our next story is Newark is also.
Okay, I want to go ahead and pause this here for just a moment. All right. I had to register our 4-year-old, she'll be 5 in June, for kindergarten. Okay, and I was able to do it online. I had to upload some documents, and one of the documents that I had to upload was her birth certificate. Can you believe that? Now, how freaking racist can that be? That they wanted ID for this child. I mean, she's not even trying to vote. They wanted to see that she was a citizen of the United States. Now, of course, I could have marked on the application that she's a migrant, but since I didn't, they wanted to see ID. They wouldn't take my word for it, which is not a problem, okay? But it seems like a problem for these Democrats. If they wanted an illegal invader into the United States to register their kids at school, okay, can we see some kind of identification? Oh, how racist can that possibly be? Just the hypocrisy of it, folks.
Also in the news for an entirely different reason, which is also concerning, by the way, and that is the airport and how air traffic controllers allegedly walked off the job because they are traumatized by how jacked up the system is over there and they are claiming that it's not even safe to fly into that airport. Take a listen.
If you've taken a flight in the past few days, you might have sensed something's up. As we reported on Friday, the United States is dealing with a shortage of air traffic controllers. How much of a shortage? 3,000 of them. And Newark, New Jersey, which is an international airport just south of New York City, has been feeling a lot of the chaos. According to FlightAware on Saturday and Sunday, 1,175 flights going into Newark or departing Newark were either delayed or canceled. On Friday, some air traffic controllers at Newark even walked off the job.
Now, let me explain the political side to this so you guys get the full picture here. Air traffic controllers, we've always had a shortage. The equipment we've been using, it's always been outdated. And there has yet to be an administration who's willing to do the hard thing to actually overhaul it because it's chaotic. Let's just be honest. It's a painful process to update this and solve this issue. And it's not going to happen overnight. So politically, people don't want to touch it. Okay. And of course, MSNBC is doing what they always do. They start running anti-Trump rhetoric in response to this chaos. Take a listen.
Donald Trump's top campaign donor, Elon Musk, demanded publicly that the FAA administrator must resign. He needs to resign. At that point, the FAA administrator was only about a year into his 5-year term. There had been no major U.S. plane crashes in years and years and years. But under his leadership, the FAA had issued a few $100,000 fines against Elon Musk's company, SpaceX. And so there's Elon Musk. He must resign. He must resign. A few weeks later, thanks in part to Elon Musk providing the largest political donation in the history of the United States, Elon Musk's candidate gets elected president, and that FAA administrator who Elon Musk had publicly hunted, he sees the writing on the wall and he resigns. And the new president, Donald Trump, doesn't even bother to name a replacement. He hasn't even bothered to put an acting official in the job of running the Federal Aviation Administration until after that mid-air collision over the Potomac. He has, however, picked the husband of one of his favorite Fox News hosts, a guy who was once a contestant on The Real World on MTV, a guy with no aviation or transportation experience whatsoever. He has picked him to be his Secretary of Transportation, a man who has never run anything large.
Now, if you were to believe everything that she says, you would probably say, yeah, this is crazy. Why would Elon Musk do such a thing? President Trump, he doesn't know what he's doing. But when you actually look at the facts, you find out that that is just propaganda right there. Let me give you an example. Fact number one, to date, this has been one of the lowest years when it comes to plane accidents. Okay. So even though she said, oh, there was no major plane accident in America, that's not true. Last year alone was one of the highest years. But fine, I get it. They're anti-Trump. But I just want to make sure you guys hear both sides to this, okay? And by the way, Elon Musk calling for the FAA administrator to resign makes sense to me when they believe in all this DEI woke stuff. And she also criticized Sean Duffy because she claims he never managed anything large. Well, neither did Pete Buttigieg. The largest job he ever held was a mayor of a local town. Stop it.
So we have really old infrastructure in America. It hasn't been updated in the last 30, 40 years. This should have been dealt with in the last administration. They did nothing. So the primary communication line went down. The backup line didn't fire. And so for 30 seconds, we lost contact with air traffic.
That's a big problem, don't you think?
It is. Now, were planes going to crash? No, they have communication devices. They can see other air traffic like GPS in the airplanes. But it's a sign that we have a frail system in place, and it has to be fixed. But by the way, so there's delays now at Newark. Well, if you're driving down the road at 70 miles an hour and you get white paint in your windshield, you slow down. So we've slowed the traffic down at Newark. There's a runway that's under construction, and our primary goal is to make sure people are safe. And so when you have an incident like this, both lines now work, Laura, but when you have an incident like this, you want to make sure that people are safe. And so you just have less departures out of the airport until we feel comfortable and safe that the system isn't going to go down again.
And it's interesting as I hear this story, how the mayor of Newark is focused on the wrong things, right? He's trying to fight the Trump administration from opening a detention center when he should be fighting for the lives and the safety of people flying into his airport. Furthermore, he should be leveraging the intelligence and experience from Elon Musk, who currently is launching more rockets than anybody on this planet into space. But hey, they hate the man, so probably that's not a great idea in their eyes. Now,
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and pause this here. Now, I'm 11 minutes into this 21-minute video. So you've got like 10 minutes more of great information from Devory Darkins. And again, I am subscribed to his channel, and I've given him a thumbs up. I hope you do the same thing for me. All right, let's come back here and wrap this up with Wendy Bell. Oh, Canada. Let's see what she has to say. I'm sure it's something good. Okay. Bit delay here.
I started getting wind of this in about 2015. I started feeling things, paying more attention to things while I was working for the ABC affiliate in my hometown of Pittsburgh as the main anchor of the station, which meant I reported very little. I was pretty much tethered to the news set. So if breaking news happened, I would be called in. You got to go do this. And it was a great honor and privilege, and I enjoyed it very much. I felt a deep commitment to the people of the community to share what I knew, to not spread lies, to not make people edgy or anxious, but to be matter of fact, and to be as honest as I could. And the day I started to see some of the headlines that I was supposed to be reading on the news, when I did some fact checking on the sources behind the material, and I went to the news director and I said, you know what, I'm not sure we should be just ripping and reading this stuff off the Associated Press. I think we need a little deeper dive in some of the stuff we're talking about. And he kind of brushed me aside, and I was so troubled by it. About another week later, I went to the general manager. And I was like, look, I've been here quite a few years. I'm deeply committed to this community, to journalism, to telling the truth. And I don't think we're being truthful. Basically, he told me to shut up, read the prompter, and collect my paycheck. And I remember coming home to my husband and saying, you know what, Joe? I didn't sign up for this. And if this is what it's going to be, I don't know how long I can do it. Of course, we had 5 kids. It's expensive. And he said, well, you know what? You're going to have to limp through it a while longer yet, love, because we've got bills to pay. It would just so happen that about 6 months later, I would be fired from this position in what would become a very helpful, eye-opening cut for me from the industry that I thought was one thing, but I had seen firsthand was something quite different. I was not part of the mill of lies and corruption and the narrative. And I didn't realize how pervasive it was until I stumbled into the world of radio just about the time COVID hit. And then it hit me like a frying pan. We are being so manipulated every single day. And once you're aware of that, it's very difficult to pay attention to people and to trust anything that you hear. Through the course of the last 5 years, we've presented on this program what I believe is sort of a middle ground between some rabbit hole people who go deep. Some people would call them conspiracy theories, but they tend to be true most of the time. And those who are completely willfully blind, whether ignorant or just totally unaware, choosing to be unaware, whatever it is, I like to consider myself some kind of a gap. I'm not out there breaking the news, but I think I'm kind of that cushion between those who are completely unaware and those who seem to know everything. And this awakening has been a process. We've seen the worst of people who have been elected to serve us. And I feel this disturbance today after watching an Alex Jones video. Look, I'm not a big InfoWars person. I don't pay attention to Alex Jones. I think he has a very important place in the public sphere of communication and information. And he presents to people the same way I do. Information encourages folks to take leadership of their own, take charge of your own knowledge, go deeper into this if you're willing to spend the time. But do know that the deeper you go, the more you see. The harder it is to jump off that path and pretend you don't know. So James O'Keefe is going to be dropping something, presumably in this day, within the next 18 hours if the cryptic trailer he put on X is true. And he urges us to believe that they can't kill all of us who tell the truth. That is true, but it is a chilling commentary for what he says he has information about that is going to be damning potentially to people in this Trump administration. Look, the way I see it, I'm not here to be a cheerleader of this president. I am here to tell the truth. And if things come out that are negative to the people in his inner circle that can be demonstrably proven, then I think it's something we absolutely have a duty to talk about. And apparently James O'Keefe is uncovering something that has to do with Pfizer. We could go on and on about Pfizer, about their capture of media, about who they pay in the mainstream news, who carry the water of pharma, which I believe has been up to some very nefarious things, creating not cures, but rather viruses that lead to money-making, billionaire-making, quote-unquote discoveries in science that are neither new nor surprising. And it makes me wonder, how long has Pfizer been, I don't know, doing the devil's bidding? I don't know. But their fingerprints are all over COVID, all over everything involving the last 5 years of our lives. James O'Keefe also has something to drop about Jeffrey Epstein. We've been waiting, for Pam Bondi to drop something, and it happened in the first 48 hours, week, or whatever it was of this administration, and it was a really limp, oh, here it is, and then the information she dropped was stuff that was already public, nothing new, and then she kind of had this weird explanation. Oh, wow, we were trying to get all the documents and the FBI isn't cooperating. Well, that didn't really sit well for a lot of people, or with a lot of people. James O'Keefe was among them. And whatever he has on Epstein, whatever he knows, somehow is connected to Pam Bondi, who, as the top law enforcement officer of these United States, creates quite a conundrum for this administration if, in fact, what James has, which he believes is bad enough, damning enough, eye-popping enough, jaw-dropping enough, that he had to put out a statement saying he is not suicidal. And that gives me chills. There are people at the highest levels of our government. I believe the highest levels of justice, highest levels of Congress, and certainly within the inner circle of this president, who are very uncomfortable right now. And there's a reason Ed Martin, President Trump's nominee, to be the guy to take over the U.S. Attorney's Office in the District of Columbia, which, by the way, would oversee the prosecution of said offenders who have done whatever to conspire with Pfizer, to get rich off of Pfizer, to conspire with Jeffrey Epstein, to get rich off of human trafficking, to conspire with whatever. USAID, grifts, stolen elections, lockdowns, viruses, antidotes, biolabs, all of it. Ed Martin is the guy who would prosecute them. And isn't it curious that today there is a senator on the GOP side of the aisle who says he is going to throw cold water all over Ed Martin's nomination for this position that must be approved by Congress and by the Senate. Now, why would that be, Senator? If we believe in one person, if we believe that Donald Trump is not deep state, if we believe that they hated him before he even was a thing, that MAGA created the politician named Donald J. Trump, if we believe in his mission, if you believe that he's not part of this, if you believe that he is the greatest enemy of the deep state because he could not be bought, he is not part of that bribery apparatus, and that he might just be that one person who believes so much and loves so much this idea of this fledgling constitutional republic, that if it means blowing up the GOP in order to take it all down, well, game on. That, my friends, is what's pulsing through me today. Hard pivot when we come back on the Wendy Bell radio program. John Fetterman coming out swinging in his own way. Not going to be taken down by the fake news. You go get him, John. Next on the Wendy Bell Radio Network.
All right, let me move this forward here. She's going to come back probably about the 23, 24 minute mark. But folks, this is something that, I've believed in for quite some time. That, okay, if you're Republican, but you're going to act like a Democrat, I'm not going to vote for you. And if a Democrat wins, what's the difference? Because you were acting like a Democrat anyway. So you want to act like a Republican, and I'll vote for you. Okay, you want to act like you care about the people that vote for you, then I'll vote for you. If you don't, then I won't. And if a Democrat wins, what's the difference? Because you were acting like a Democrat anyway. So there you have it.
Regimen. Cleaning up means cleaning it all. Not just cleaning the parts that we don't like, not just exposing the people that we think are dirty and dark, who've done wrong by the United States. It means looking at our own side and saying, look, I am more offended by Republicans who pretend to be something that they are not, who are deeply entrenched with the deep state, who are deeply against our values, who vote repeatedly to defy the wishes of the people who allegedly voted them in. Expose them all. Light it up. I want it all. I don't want a dibble dabble. I don't want a little dose will do you, a little trickle, a little stream. Cue the freaking tsunami and let us see. Let us see. Now, John Fetterman, very interesting. I wonder if the senator and his wife maybe paid attention to some of the things I've been saying on this program, because he says exactly what I said, and anybody with a functioning brain, and his would be able to see. John Fetterman is not a rubber stamp for the Democrat Party. John Fetterman is a staunch defender of Israel. That is it. He is now persona non grata. John Fetterman was the guy who's like, Bob Menendez is a crook. He needs to get kicked out of the Senate. What are we doing? John Fetterman was the guy who's like, I don't like Pete Hegseth for what I think I know about him, but I should probably sit down and listen to him. How many other things, Brock, you brought up something else that Fetterman did that I didn't say.
Yeah, he criticized them at Donald Trump's address for not standing for the kid with cancer.
Right. So when Donald Trump addressed Congress and the Democrats sat on their hands for the young man, right? And everybody and his brother got to see the cold-hearted, zero empty soul of the left side of the aisle. John Fetterman called that out. Well, he said something yesterday. It's a quick blip. I tried to find an extended version of this and not just this 22-minute awkwardly edited clip. But some gotcha reporter is going to take the garbage reporter of New York Magazine, which relied on 34 instances of non-attributed allegations that he's seeing things, that he's hearing voices, that he's delusional, that he's catatonic, that he bought a gun, that he's a threat to himself, he's a danger to others, that he's wandering the streets. The guy's a lunatic. All of this stuff. This reporter takes it and runs with it. I want you to hear what she asks of John Fetterman. And I want you to hear exactly what he says, because my, it sounds familiar. Go.
Yeah, no one's ever seen that. It's a one source story with a couple anonymous sources. Hit piece from a very left publication. There's really nothing more to say about that.
He said he was worried that you're not taking your medications. Are you taking your medications, sir?
Again, the hit piece, anonymous source.
He shakes his head and makes a face of disappointment. Like, I cannot believe that you're asking me if I'm taking my medication. First of all, it's none of your freaking business. Second of all, how dare you try to merchandise what is clearly, to anybody paying attention, a hit piece wrap-up smear meant to eliminate me because I'm the one person they can't control. Jesse Waters, very interesting last night. Almost exactly what we said on this program for the last 48 hours. But my, isn't everybody paying attention to how dark and dirty the deep state is when it goes after their own?
Democrats learn nothing. They're just getting dirtier. Look at what they're doing to Fetterman. New York Magazine dropped a bomb saying his staff thinks he's mentally unfit and can't do the job. They say he's erratic and impossible to work for. That's funny. We think Fetterman's been making more sense than ever. It's no secret Democrats didn't like when he went to Mar-a-Lago, and apparently he was considering voting for Hegseth. Oh my God, that was the last straw. Now they're leaking that Fetterman's catatonic, can barely string two sentences together, walks around his office in tight loops, and engages in risky behavior like FaceTimes texts and reads news articles while driving. Well, I think we're all guilty of that. They're also reporting that his staff took away his social media passwords and were engaged in secret conversations with his doctor behind his back. Fetterman denies all of this and says they're quoting disgruntled staffers. Kind of sounds like they're trying to 25th Amendment him. The only Democrat who speaks his mind. The only one with a shred of independence. What does it say about the Democratic Party that they can't tolerate a single senator not towing the party line?
And isn't it so curious, the same media that saw no evil, spoke no evil, heard no evil about Joe Biden's obvious incompetence. Ladies and gentlemen, it wasn't even a question when Joe Biden was running if he was capable cognitively. The guy was collapsed in 2017. And this media failed to cover any of that. But all of a sudden now is ready to red flag law John Fetterman, going behind his back, acting like the keepers of the castle, taking away passwords, meddling in his life, and creating the illusion that he's the problem. No, my friends. See, I started to understand this in 2015. The enemy of the state is and always has been the media. They've just gotten so lazy now. They just show you without even trying to hide it. When we come back, Mark Carney.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and pause this here. Now, she mentioned something about the wrap-up smear, and I'm going to share that with you here. It's just a minute and a half, minute 40-some seconds. But first, let me show you that this video does come from Wendy Bell Radio. I'm following her channel. I've given her a thumbs up. I hope you do the same thing for me. All right, let's get over here to Murtech.com, Daily News Update. Okay? And let's come over here to my historical facts page. All right? So, with this, I want to show you here, right here, this deep state, or this deep state category from Nancy Pelosi explains wrap-up smear tactic. This was June 22nd, 2017. Okay, this was just 6 months, 5 months actually, after Donald Trump had taken office after he won the 2016 election. Let's go ahead and take a listen to this. If I can get this going for you. I hope I didn't. Oh, you know what? I think somebody, where this video came from, it must have been taken down because it's not playing. Oh, what a shame. I will find that wrap-up smear. If you follow me anytime at all, you've seen this. But I will get this back. I'll search down another copy. I may have to download a copy of it to my domain so that I can keep that. But at any rate, let's get back over here. And let me tell you, look that up, folks. I'll be able to find it on YouTube if they haven't taken them all down, or on Rumble. Just do a search on Nancy Pelosi wrap-up smear. But at any rate, let me give kudos here to Wendy Bell, Devory Darkins, Chicks on the Right, Bannons War Room. All these videos that I shared with you come directly from these people. I don't get any commissions or royalties for sharing this information with you, but I do get the satisfaction of doing my part to get this information out. Let's check out the chats here. Looks like Debbie BS, and I've done some chatting myself. Let me copy this in. And speaking of Debbie BS, let me go ahead and put this in a comment. Boom. Okay. Speaking of Debbie BS, she laid out a couple of more comments here. I'm going to copy these in because I always like to keep this information. Here we go. There we go. She gave me a comment on my episode 341C and 341B. Oh, here we go.
Wrap-up smear. If you want to talk politics, call it the wrap-up smear. You smear.
Let me pause this. Let me roll it back. Now remember, Wendy Bell brought this up about the wrap-up smear against John Fetterman. Okay, this is 36 seconds, okay? So let Nancy Pelosi, this came from C-SPAN. Nobody put this together. I don't know why it took so long to load, but I just heard it in my headphones, and so I wanted to click over on this page so you could see this. 36 seconds. Nancy Pelosi gives the wrap-up smear definition. This is a press conference from C-SPAN. Okay, if I can get it to play now.
Self-fulfilling prophecy. You demonize, and then we call it the wrap-up smear. If you want to talk politics, call it the wrap-up smear. You smear somebody with falsehoods and all the rest.
Okay, if you want to talk politics, folks, okay, you smear somebody with falsehoods and all the rest, so you lie about someone with when you tell falsehoods, those are lies, okay?
And then you merchandise it. And then you write it, and they'll say, see, it's reported in the press that this, and this. So they have that validation that the press reported the smear, and then it's called the wrap-up smear. Now I'm going to merchandise the press's report on the smear that we made. And it's a tactic. And
it's just a tactic, folks. Okay, it's just a tactic. First, you make up a bunch of lies, and then you leak it to the press. Then the press reports on it, and then you merchandise that. You use that to go after someone and say, see, look, the New York Times and the Washington Post and the Wall Street Journal all reported that you're not taking your medications and that you're radical. You walk in circles around your office. Okay, really? This was in 2017, shortly after Donald Trump took office, after he won the 2016 election. Nancy Pelosi is explaining the wrap-up smear. Isn't that amazing? Okay, let's get back here and let me finish this up. All right. Boom, there it is. Simple. All right. Excuse me. Okay, so let me do a quick refresh on this. Okay, I've had 202 people watch this video so far. I've got 31 watching it right now. I've got 4 thumbs up. So if I could get 27 of you to slide down here and give me a thumbs up, that would be great. 202 people watch this video. All right. Let's get back over here to my main page. And folks, these 4 videos that I shared with you are videos that I've posted on Murtech.com. I have over 55 no-nonsense, common sense, logic, and truth videos here. I didn't have time to share all of them with you, but a lot of these are in my daily news wrap-up, my marathon live stream that just streams overnight, about 8 or 9 hours worth of information. That'll start about 9:30, so go ahead and take a break, grab a cup of coffee, meet me back here about 9:30. I'll get that started, and you'll get a lot of the information that I wasn't able to cover in this 1-hour podcast, although I've gone over it just a little bit. But I do want to thank you for your time. Hopefully, I'll get to to see you again later, and may God bless.